Why we're never gonna see these cards return back to the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that fiber jar so you guys don't miss out on more OS content. So this actually was a very hilarious thing that I just came to realize that actually inspired this video. We're probably never going to see Fiber Jar come back because it's a flip effect monster. And now that Mimighoul actually exists out here, then I could just add a Fiber Jar to my hand, or I can add it to my opponent's field, and then I could just wait for my opponent to combo, take up their normal summon, use Mimighoul Dungeon Master effect, and I can just flip up the Fiber Jar. Oh, okay, well go ahead and shuffle, you know, your hand on back into your deck. Oh wait, you know, you did a bunch of stuff, you committed a bunch of, you know, your things, but wait, we just burned down the clock 5 minutes with you trying to combo. You've just used all of these once per turn effects that you have, and now, you know, we have to resolve the Fiber Jar reset, and it's a huge headache overall. It's actually kind of crazy to me now that we've seen Fiber Jar and Mimighoul both existing kind of in the same format right now. Well, actually, Fiber Jar is banned, but existing in the same game. Having competitive flip effect monster support ensures that Fiber Jar just can never come back. All right, I know it seems like it's, you're like, oh, Robbie, you know, like, you know, nobody's ever going to actually play Fiber Jar. It doesn't matter if they're actually going to play it. It's the fact that the interaction exists that forces you to maintain all of these card effects that your opponent has sat through up to this point, and then suddenly you're like, huh, this is a lot more of a pain than I remember it being. It's a lot of nothing that you have to maintain just to allow Fiber Jar to come back in the presence of the Mimighoul Master. So actually bad. A card that burns down the timer is already an issue as it is. Alright, and then we have Gumblar. Konami does not like cards that typically go into your opponent's hand and take away resources from them. And Delinquent Do, you know, all the hand rippers that existed in the game, the ability to take away these resources from your opponent is kind of insane in itself. I know I've already been like, well, you know, you want to fix the format, bring back Gumblar. The only thing you're fixing by bringing back Gumblar is these huge amounts of decks that would be spamming monsters left and right to, you know, get these cards out of your opponent's hand, and you're chipping away at your opponent's hand. Those cards are not fair for the game. It is not right that, you know, using a card to gain advantage of your opponent's hand, look at a Pointer of the Red Lotus being the most recent hand rip card to, you know, get shunned out of the community because it's that broken. That knowledge that you are gaining, you know, you might be like, well, you know, now you can play around an option? That's nuts! Alright, oh, you have Nibiru in your hand? Well, let's go ahead and take away your combo piece, put up my negate on 4 summons, offer you the handshake. That, Pegasus was absolutely correct. Being able to see Yugi's hand to play around those combo lines is crazy. Alright, it is... Any sort of crazy hand rip option that exists in the current game that sees a huge amount of play is usually destined to get ripped out of the game. Somehow, though, Spiritual Water Aoi has found a way to dodge, but that's because the competitive merit that you have with that typically isn't really viable. Alright, that's the only reason why we've seen that card, you know, dodge for as long as it has. Now, since this is the cards not coming back video, I do want to toss in a note here to the once per turn fix. There are a lot of cards on this list of things that are banned, like Magical Scientist, for example, you know, Fishborg Blaster, that the easiest fix for these cards is to slap the you can only use the effect of this card's name once per turn on it. Alright? A Level Eater even is another one. There are so many cards that should not be on this list that just need cumulative fix. Even Mind Master, right? There you go. That's 5 cards that you need to see come back that are the easiest fixes in the world. But for some reason, Konami has chosen, you know, they'll errata cards every once in a while. I know a lot of this community doesn't like erratas. They're like, oh, I would rather, you know, play the card the way it was intended. Well, you know, maybe when they made the card, they thought, well, this is a completely different thing. You know, this will be fine. You know, proofreading cards 10, 15 years in advance are not, that's not what you think is going to happen. You don't expect to see suddenly, you know, Firewall Dragon's a card and all of a sudden, you know, Blue Eyes is playing all these heavy, you put a level 8 on the field, well, hey, I got a free Firewall Dragon. You know, Level Eater, bomb. Hey, we just link climbed. We did it. That was the thing that got Level Eater punished, was just the stupid interactions of being able to put these huge link 4s on the field. And you can't have interactions like that exist. I do believe Konami will analyze a lot of these once per turns that need their once per turns put on them. Or, you know, we just see things like Substitute get the chance to come back, and, you know, we see the Ronin Totem suffer for it. Once again, hey, another easy fix. You can only use the effect of this card's name once per turn. Easy. I did it. I fixed Ronin Totem for you. Isn't that really, really cool? Dimensional Fusion. And on the lesser half of the equation, the Return from a Different Dimension. You know, there was a time when we looked at these cards and we're like, you know, the Banish Pile's not really a broken thing. You know, there can't be anything really too broken by allowing a mass exodus of these cards. You know, one of the things that people look at with Shifter that really disappoints them is, oh no, all of these cards are going down the crapper. Like, well, there they go. There go my resources. But what if you had Dimension Fusion and Return from a Different Dimension to bring these cards back and be able to use them? Well, that'd be the counter. The problem is, though, these two particular cards, Return from a Different Dimension and Dimension Fusion, they are not restrictive in any way. These cards have 0 specifications on them. Now, what if they said, hey, you can't attack directly the turn that you activate either of these? People might be looking at these a little bit differently. But then, I mean, you toss Soul Charge into the same equation out here. You know, cards that generate 4 to 5 cards of advantage on an activation for a smudge amount of life points are crazy and cannot return back to the course of the game. That's an entirely crazy thing to think about out here. Is like, you want these things back. You realize, like, how unbalanced that these cards create these gameplay scenarios, and you're justifying, well, you know, this card beats, you know, Shifter. You know, I played as a 1-of. I mean, if you move it back, you would bring it as a 1-of. You know, you have to thrust on into it or something in order to see it. And then it's like, that's wild. That's a real, you're up there, you're grabbing, you're reaching for it, you're doing the best. The Jin. Now, for those of you that don't know, Jin is like fully unrestricted in the OCG. The OCG's done nothing with this. Reminds me of the days of Kaiser Coliseum being unrestricted in the OCG, and look how that went. Looking at Jin, though, I think the reason why we'll never see this card come back, at least anytime soon, is the fact that Konami saw the player base really abusing the whole, you know, the whole sighting things out. You know, they say you shouldn't play mind games with your opponent, but the whole Jin thing is more of a principle at this point. You know, it's making those game states, using either your unfair advantage to your words, taking the bait of one of your opponents, and then Konami look at you and you going, well, you know, at the time, you know, mind games and the policy docs, I don't believe were under the thing. Things have long since changed since the days of Jin, but floodgate conditions are stupid. All right. It is cool that, you know, we did have a time where you could pass effects onto ritual monsters and have those ritual monsters be able to do things with them. Yeah, 150%. I thought that was really cool. You know, giving Exceed monsters effects is cool, but why can't we have give more ritual monsters more of these effects so they can do things? I mean, rituals have already been overhauled as it is, but, you know, Jin lives in infamy as a card that broke the spirit of the game, and that's why I don't think we'll ever see it come back. It's freaking hilarious, actually. So what do you guys think about these cards not returning back to the game? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Patrons, thank you. Ugh.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.